Greetings, Patriots. I'm Dan Albert, and I'd like to share with you my thoughts about why, in the Albert Plan to Save America, I propose that we restore election integrity by almost altogether eliminating the use of absentee ballots. Even in the exceptions that I would propose that we consider for absentee ballots, I think those absentee ballots still must be cast at official polling locations. And let me explain where I come from on all these points. Absentee ballots violates the principle, the way that we're presently doing absentee ballots. It violates the principle of having very little separation in space and time from the casting of the ballot in private to the counting of the ballots. So if under the current system, an absentee voter could, his or her vote could be stolen, could be thrown away. A voter could be intimidated to vote a certain way. They could be bribed and paid to vote a certain way. There are all kinds of ways for operatives to commit election fraud, and there's great motivation on the side of people involved in elections to commit election fraud, and it seems like Democrats have mastered the science of election fraud. Ballot harvesting in 2018, I believe, flipped a number of seats to the Democrats, and it's a scourge on the integrity of our election. We have to eliminate this whole idea of a third party going and collecting ballots from anyone. So we have a prohibition. In the Albert Plan to restore election integrity, I've already presented how that would look on election day, on federal election day. Federal election day, of course, separated from state and local elections. So when we have exceptions to a voter being able to vote absentee, those exceptions should be for things like military personnel on bases or on submarines or ships. It should be for diplomatic corps at U.S. embassies or people working in the White House or such similar circumstances. And even in those circumstances, the voters should have in hand their absentee ballot. And because I'm calling for a thumbprint to be affixed to the backside of each ballot, and there are only up to 3 decisions made on federal election day, that the system can be really tightened up by establishing a voting precinct at each of those places, like a base or a ship or a submarine, the White House or an embassy, and those kind of venues. And voters, citizens that are eligible to vote and that have registered to vote and that have requested an absentee ballot, that's important too. They receive their absentee ballot. And the way this works, those ballots could actually be delivered by email, and they could print them out on white sheets of paper. I'm advocating for a white sheet of paper for the congressional race, and a blue sheet of paper for president, and a red for Senate, or any combination, any way you want to slice and dice that, so it's easier to count. But in the case of absentee ballots, those ballots could say absentee, it could list the race, it could list the precinct. And then labels could also be sent by email. And those ballots could be printed, the labels could be printed, envelopes could be used to, at the venue, like on a ship or a submarine or a Marine Corps or Army base or the White House, there could be an official process that is used to cast ballots in a similar fashion under video live stream or recorded, where people verify their identity, they take their ballots, which they already have, they can be inspected, They could be witnessed while their thumbprints are put on the back of those ballots. They could go into a private place to mark their ballots, fold them up and put them into an envelope that is unmarked, and then that could go into an envelope that has the proper labeling on the envelope for the state that it goes to, the congressional district that it goes to, the precinct for which the ballot has been cast. And then those ballots could be collected by those polling locations, the base, the submarine, the ship, the White House. Those ballots could be collected by an authorized, the poll workers could they're not going to count ballots, they're just going to gather everything up, and they'll ship the ballots off to each of the jurisdictions that are represented by the constituents that are in that venue. The president's ballot and his wife and family that are there that can vote their ballots would be shipped off to Florida. Personnel on Navy bases and embassies, etc., their ballots would be shipped to actually each polling location could ship all of their ballots to one central place that would then separate them according to the states that they're to go off to. And then those ballots could then be shipped off to the respective states or election jurisdictions like Puerto Rico or Guam. So that's a pretty tight process. It eliminates the potential for separation in time and place from the vote and the actual tallying of the vote, which would, in this case, the votes would be collected on election day. They would be deposited or sent via authorized means by dispatch if it's from a base or a ship, however they do that. They could all be collected in one place and then shipped to the various states. And those states would then have, under tight control, they would have all these absentee ballots. So if you limit the opportunity for an absentee ballot, then you eliminate so much opportunity for fraud. And it would totally eliminate ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting is fraudulent. It can be fraudulent. It isn't necessarily fraudulent, but the whole idea is just ripe with opportunity for fraud. And so there should be no absentee voting except for authorized, limited instances that are then tightly monitored and that occur on election day. So that is my what I've built into the proposals that I make on restoring election integrity. And if you like the proposals that I'm making, what I have to say, just please subscribe to this channel, and if you click on the bell, then you'd be notified when I publish a new video. And if you like it and share it, I'd appreciate that. Get the word out. We need to organize and mobilize 30 million Americans to get on the same page. And I've laid out how we can do that. And I'm doing my part, and I ask you to do your part to do that. And together we can restore our republic to what our founders intended. We the people can rise up and restore federalism, restore national sovereignty. We can restore individual liberty. We can restore limited government, and we can unleash free market capitalism. But in order to do that, we have to have integrity in our elections. And of all of the imminent threats that our nation faces, I think the lack of election integrity is probably the most serious threat that we face. So let's get the job done and have fun doing it. And thank you for your time, and may God bless the great United States of America. Thank you.